Joining us via Zoom is an international affairs analyst, Gbenga Onifade. Gbenga, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, there are those who say this is perhaps bad news for Nigerian students and perhaps may deter them from looking at the UK as a destination of choice. But I wonder if you see it as that.
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's quite uncertain or unfortunate, with the hike that we have seen in Nigeria. But of course, you've got to understand the UK have got to take advantage of the demand, even though we've just had a change in government. But we haven't actually seen, or the studies haven't actually shown there's a stall in the number of applications. So I think you should expect the obvious, which is a hike, really. And of course, the government they do have a target, it's an unwritten rule, and once they've got their targets, at that point, they're not going to totally just say no to people, but we're going to hike the price now, but at the same time, whoever wants in, they can come in, but at their own expense. So how do Nigerians perceive this? But I think generally the notion, which I have seen, there's no actual data because actually it's still very recent, and there's no actual data, but the majority of the consensus is that we will still we will still come in. That's what they're still saying. So while a lot are disappointed, but I think what it does is actually just stalled or delayed a bit, the journey a little bit for for a lot of Nigerians who are still willing to come, and so it's quite unfortunate. This has been the hike has happened, but the general consensus is that yes, it's still quite positive. I'll still rather leave my fatherland, if I can say, to the UK.
Interesting. But then I understand that post-COVID, the United Kingdom really is aggressive when it comes to raising money, making money for the country, looking for revenue one way or the other. Is it part of that drive, drives rather, to shore up their revenue, or is it that they want to reduce the number of immigrants into their country?
Oh no, we've got to be silly if we're thinking it's all about immigration. Right from the days of, we're talking about the days of, even before Tony Blair, we've got Margaret Thatcher, John Major, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, and right now Rishi Sunak. Immigration has actually never actually dipped. I think he only dipped one time. Then they were quite aggressive, but then it just went back up. So immigration's always been on the record, really. So it kind of seems to, why the population are, because the government's quite stretched, but at the same time, the population, they're quite aggrieved, and they keep talking about, no, we need to say no to immigration, you need to cut it down. Okay, even if we're not actually saying, let's make it legal, and even though they might tell you that's what they want to do, that's what the government will tell you what you want to hear. And no matter how, the country is still very much attractive, unfortunately, because of the way our country is being run, Nigeria. So while you might think in their hearts they want it down, but at the end of the day, post-COVID, like you said as well, UK is actually in a mess, according to Tony Blair a few days ago in the Financial Times. So yes, they do not want to cut it down because a lot of people did not return to work. And we had quite a lot of people who got comfortable, and there's still this, UK left the European Union. So we have all these low-skilled or low-paid jobs, which you work in a very extreme condition, and you're not getting much reward, and they need some people to fill these gaps or this holes. It used to be the European Union people, but they've all nationals, they've all gone back to their countries right now, and now you need to depend on the countries, and especially we do have this exchange rate, which actually favored the people from lower earning countries. And the minimum wage here, so a lot of people tend to have that notion. They still have the stigma of just converting it to what they earn in their base currency. So it kind of makes it very much attractive. So I think it's a lot more politics. I don't think they might seem like they want to cut down immigration, but you got the fruit pickers, you got the care route. They need to look after it. And one of the most important thing, which I should actually mention, a few years ago, that was the times of Theresa May. She actually did decide to cut down on immigration. There was a ban on, you study, you go straight back to your country. And unfortunately, at that time, the people decided to make I think UK, you got to understand, education is also a business. People come here to the UK, but UK started to seem a lot less attractive compared to, the likes of Canada, Australia, United States, for which, Boris Johnson has actually seen, well, I think it's an opportunity to show up the revenue generating machine all over again, and decided, okay, we're going to have you stay for, for another 2 years. We can't call it the post-study visa, which you will get once you're done with your study. And all of a sudden, again, it started booming all over again. So yes, UK is always going to be attractive. There's a lot more politics, and of course, revenue generation. It's not about how this government love you. No, it doesn't work that way.